the development that we've seen in the city is fantastic. I think it's just the tip of the iceberg, and really excited to see what's in store in the future.
I'm Jimmy Bruce, president of Eastern Gateway Community College. We're proud to sponsor this thought-provoking interview series with community leaders who, through perseverance and determination, are being who they want to be and making a difference in the Mahoning Valley.
CCA has really, I guess in partnership with Cityscape, taken a lead in the beautification and revitalization of Youngstown. We see the mural as we enter the city as well. That was done several years ago now.
It's 2013.
Why is that part of your mission too? Part of CCA's mission?
So that all started in 97, 98, and at that time, Market Street corridor, as we discussed the other day, was completely different. And at that time, we didn't have 8 facilities. We had, I think, 5 buildings, maybe 4. And there was certainly a need to be able to secure the campus because there was a lot of violence, there was prostitution, and so we started to have a community effort, and we wanted to be able to give back to the community. So it was purposeful. So as a building became vacant, dilapidated, as a nuisance, then we would acquire it and we would work to beautify it. And so then also work twofold to where if somebody had court fines and restitution costs, to where those community service hours could be used in lieu of those fines and costs. So again, over the years, 10,000 plus hours of community service dating back 20 plus years, it's been a significant impact on the city. And so again, through the late 90s, 2000s, more and more properties became available, and I think we have between 45 and 50 parcels on Market Street. And so, the hope is that continue to clean up the area, and so I think as downtown's revitalization comes through, and we continue to see those efforts, that hopefully that transcends on the Market Street corridor.
And just to be clear, the residents maintain all of those lots?
Yes, and so again, from a community service standpoint, so they are not the ones that go out and do the actual initial development of them. So we hire a landscape architect, Tony Billette, and so he comes out and he puts the boulders there and designs the initial landscape, and then the community service crew maintains it throughout the year.
It has changed tremendously over the years. In fact, when you were coming downtown from Boardman as a child, as is still the case in some families, I mean, you were warned, be careful when you drive downtown.
Sure, it was a perception, and quite frankly, at that time, it was a reality. So my family operated James & Weaver, and it was right on Wood Street.
Furniture store?
Furniture store, and unfortunately was just torn down about 1.5 years ago. Yeah, so the university purchased it, and it's a parking lot now. But at that time, I want to say it was 95, 96. Sounds about right. My brother was driving and would go down and visit my father at work, and I think my brother was also working for him at the time, and he always told him, well, you don't stop at a red light on Market Street, even in broad daylight. And I believe it was the light right over here. We were pulled over, and a police officer said, "Do you know why we pulled you over?" And he said, "Sure, I ran a red light." He said, "Well, that's against the law." "Yes, it is." "Well, it's also not safe." "Oh, sure, it's safe." And he said, "Well, that's your perception. Mine is that it's not, and I was told that, all the way to get home, that if I run across a red light, I'm going to run it. And so we can play this game until we get to Boardman." Not advocating for anybody to break the law, but that was certainly the case at that time. And so it's interesting when you take a step back then, because a short time thereafter, the revitalization of Market Street, on behalf of CCA, started to change that and started to change the perception of people. We still run into people from the suburbs that, oh, well, the city's not safe, and that's not the case. And unfortunately, those are people that maybe haven't been, downtown or in the city limits in 10, 15 years.
Right.
And so I think that, the development that we've seen in the city is fantastic. I think it's just the tip of the iceberg, and really excited to see what's in store in the future.
Unfortunately, 60% of children in Youngstown are living in poverty.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts on how we can help those children in poverty not end up as part of the system?
I think very early education, and I think that having partners within the community working together at an early age. I think that also having the support from family when a child is going through the educational system is obviously important. So when somebody is at home and there's a focus on their education and that the homework is done and that they're showing up for work, because I think that's one of the biggest challenges, just getting the student to school in the first place. And I think that if we take that approach amongst others, that we can hopefully help to curb some of that. We see a lot of our clients who come through, or residents that come through, and unfortunately maybe we've had their father or mother or grandfather through, and so we want to be able to work within the system to be able to try to stop that cycle.
One of the local service groups who tries to address some of those issues is the Rotary Club, of which you just became president. Congratulations.
Right. Well, thank you.
Your family has rather a long legacy of ties with the Rotary Club. Tell me about that.
So my great-grandfather, who founded James a Weaver, I want to say it was maybe a year or so after he started the business with his partner, joined the Rotary Club of Youngstown, and he became president in the mid-40s, and his son-in-law, my grandfather, Frank Stillwagon, was president in the mid-60s, and then my father was president in 87, 88, and so
here we
I
are.
guess it's my turn. Yeah.
Was that always a goal?
No, not at all. Certainly, grew up and had that understanding of Rotary. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't necessarily maybe remember going to. I know I went to events, but I don't have vivid memories of it. But I knew that it was something that was extremely important to be able to continue to give back.
You are a husband with a young daughter, beautiful young daughter. So how do you have time to give back so much? You're involved in the Historical Society, Salvation Army, as we said, Cityscape, and Rotary. Is that something that was, I guess, ingrained in you as a child, that you do take part in the community and give service in that way?
It was really my grandfather and grandmother that really had that focus to be able to give back and to be able to volunteer your time. And so, my grandfather was heavily involved in the Salvation Army, as well as Rotary, and then also my father was involved with Salvation Army for 30 plus years, and seeing where the needs were. And so, I think that a lot of that was just whether it's in the DNA, from the entrepreneurial standpoint, or from a service end of things, it's certainly ingrained in me.
How did becoming a dad change your perception of work, of life, of balancing everything?
Flipped everything upside down.
Yeah.
I think as it does to everybody. So in a great way. Wouldn't change anything in the world. She's fantastic, and that's the best part of my day.
Tell us her name.
Her name is Lana, and she'll be 3 in December. But you have the challenges throughout the day as anybody would in their industry, and so use the 10-15 minute commute home to be able to kind of change the dial to be able to focus in on family, because it's extremely important. And I think that from a service standpoint, if she was older, 8, 10, heavily involved in extracurricular activities, it would be the time commitment certainly wouldn't be there. It would be a shuffle. So I think from a timing standpoint, when I was asked to start to kind of move up through the chairs for Rotary, it actually worked out.
What type of advice do you have for young people when they're starting out, when they have so many questions as to what should I do next? Should I move forward? Am I able to do this? Do I have the skills for this? Is there any advice that you have that you kind of learned through all this?
I would say don't be afraid to take risks, and to constantly ask those questions and look for the feedback. And it's okay to get outside of your comfort zone, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to grow and develop, and to be able to get outside of and to be able to reach those goals that maybe you thought were unattainable. I didn't sit here when I applied in 2011 and think that I was going to be the CEO 2.5 years later. However, and I think that in life that fate and luck and that does certainly play a part, because a lot of it's timing. If it was a year later, year earlier, would it be the same situation? Probably not. If I would have gone off and played baseball in college, and would I have gone away out of state? Probably, and everybody's path would have changed a little bit. So it's interesting how you make that one decision in your life, and it kind of tailors the path that you're going to be on. But yeah, I would certainly say that always listen and take the feedback, and constantly set goals, and make sure that they're short and long term. Because if you don't have anything in writing, then you're not gonna be reaching for it.
I'm Jimmy Bruce, president of Eastern Gateway Community College. We're proud to sponsor this thought-provoking interview series with community leaders who, through perseverance and determination, are being who they want to be and making a difference in the Mahoning Valley.